President Trump says he wants to have a second meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Details of his meeting that was one-on-one with the president have not been made public, but the White House is confirming the two discussed letting Russia interrogate former U.S. Ambassador Michael McFaul. It would have been in exchange for letting the U.S. talk to 12 Russian officers indicted by special counsel Robert Mueller.
There was some conversation about it, but there wasn't a commitment made on behalf of the United States, and the president will work with his team, and we'll let you know if there's an announcement on that front.
But the White House backed off of that idea today. The administration says President Putin made the sincere proposal, but President Trump disagrees with it. The administration adds, hopefully, President Putin will have the Russians come to the U.S. to prove their innocence or guilt. Meanwhile, for the second month in a row, Time magazine put a provocative photo illustration of President Trump on its cover. This is the July 30th issue. The president has been morphed into the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The magazine says the cover is meant to represent a moment in U.S. foreign policy following the pair's meeting in Finland.
A new Cold War or an open conversation with Russia? President Trump isn't the only one who's had to deal with the Russia question. Our national correspondent Christine Frizzell explains the fine line that presidents have to walk.
It's a rift enshrined in history.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
But long before and long after this moment,
this is my last election, yeah, and after my election I have more flexibility.
U.S. presidents have tried and tried again to work with Russia.
Well, we've been meeting with Soviet or Russian leaders since 1943.
Peter Brooks, a foreign policy expert with the Heritage Foundation, says working with Russia has always been a challenge.
Having a conversation is good, can be good. We don't necessarily have to say that's success or progress, but I think it's important part of diplomacy.
But all week on Capitol Hill, many lawmakers have expressed concern about that meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin and whether Russia, which has been deceptive in the past, should be trusted.
I stand by what I said about Mr. Putin. Dealing with him is like hand-feeding a shark.
It's very clear that the Russians want to undermine our democracy, and they are effectively doing it, and the President of the United States is allowing them to doing it.
One of the president's biggest supporters on the matter has been Republican Senator Rand Paul.
So if I want Russia to pull out of Ukraine, I have a couple of options. We can put sanctions on them, we could go to war with them, or we could also encourage them that maybe there's an economic benefit to having more trade with us.
Encouragement, he says, should start with a conversation. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Now to our national question of the day. Do you think that Vladimir Putin will one day be a U.S. ally or will always be a U.S. foe?